Have you ever noticed that the tighter you hold on to something, the faster it slips away? Like sand on a beach, the harder you squeeze, the more you lose. So what are you clinging to right now? A grudge that eats your peace, a regret that echoes at night, the fear of what people will think if you chase what sets your heart on fire. We live in a culture that worships holding on to relationships even when they drain us, holding on to jobs even when they crush our spirit, holding on to anger because we think the other person doesn't deserve forgiveness, holding on to perfection because anything less feels like failure. Here's the quiet paradox: the tighter we grip, the more life slips through our fingers. The Stoics saw this 2,000 years ago. They taught that pain doesn't come from events, it comes from our resistance to them. Picture a blizzard in the woods. A proud, rigid oak fights the weight of snow until it snaps. A willow bends, lets the snow slide off and rises whole. Which one do you want to be? Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's not apathy, it's inner freedom. It's the declaration, I will not let my peace be imprisoned by circumstances, by people, or by my past mistakes. And when you let go, something miraculous happens. The mental space once crammed with resentment becomes fuel for creativity. The energy once burned by anxiety turns into action. The time once wasted on endless mental reruns becomes moments that build what matters. This isn't just philosophy, it's neuroscience. When you fight reality, your body locks into fight or flight. Stress hormones surge, your thinking goes foggy. But when you release resistance, your nervous system softens. Your mind clears. You choose from wisdom, not from wounds. So how do you loosen your grip and begin to grow? 13 principles. 13 practical tools can change the way you move through life. Principle 1. Drop the illusion of control. You control far less than you think. Not other people, not outcomes, not the market. What you do control is simple: your thoughts, your actions, your responses. That's your real power. When you stop gripping what's impossible to control, you discover the deepest influence within. Think like an athlete. They don't obsess over the trophy. They train technique, strength, mindset. Master the inputs and results follow. Principle 2. Embrace impermanence. Everything changes. Relationships, health, the seasons of a life. Heraclitus said, "No one steps into the same river twice." Cherry blossoms aren't precious because they last. They're precious because they don't. When you accept impermanence, you stop clinging and start cherishing. You stop postponing joy, waiting for perfect conditions that never last. Principle 3. Redefine failure and rejection. Edison said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Failure isn't a verdict, it's feedback. Rejection isn't cosmic punishment, it's redirection. The obstacle isn't blocking the path. The obstacle is the path. Principle 4. Separate from your emotions. Detachment isn't numbness, it's feeling fully without being ruled. Anger shows up, you notice it, you don't explode. Fear arrives, you acknowledge it, you don't freeze. Emotions are weather. You can't stop the rain, but you can bring an umbrella. Principle 5. Release expectations. Under every disappointment sits an unmet expectation. We expect fairness, punctuality, recognition. Reality doesn't always comply. Preferences motivate. Rigid expectations generate suffering. Turn must into I'd like. Strive with everything you've got, but don't shatter when life delivers something else. Principle 6. Stop chasing approval. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves to judge you. The audience you're performing for mostly imaginary. Freedom begins when you stop outsourcing your worth. Self-validate. Define success on your own terms. Principle 7. Let go with gratitude. Letting go isn't quitting. It's empowerment. It's trading resistance for trust. Rumi wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Maybe life is dismantling an old pattern so something new can grow. Don't ask, why me? Ask, what is this teaching me?" Principle 8. Release your former self. You're not fixed. You're not sentenced to repeat your past. Labels: shy, failure, people pleaser are old clothes. Growth asks you to change outfits. Identity follows action. Run and you become a runner. Lead and you become a leader. Principle 9. Trust the process. Seeds sprout in darkness before they break the soil. The butterfly transforms in a sealed cocoon. So do you. Winter can feel bleak, but it prepares the ground for spring. Trust that the process is shaping you even when results aren't visible yet. Principle 10. Practice presence. Life doesn't happen in yesterday or tomorrow. It happens now. Pay attention, breathe, listen, taste your food. Be here because the present is all we ever truly have. Principle 11. Choose contribution over comparison. Comparison drains. Contribution energizes. Instead of, am I better than them, ask, how can I help? Real fulfillment comes from lifting others, not outpacing them. Principle 12. Live by a larger purpose. A life without direction drifts. A life with purpose flows. Like a compass in a storm, your mission keeps you from losing your way. Ask, which values define me? What do I stand for? Then let that lead. Principle 13. Letting go. Rising up. Every time you release what no longer serves you, you rise. Like a hot air balloon dropping sandbags, you lift higher, lighter, freer. You don't lose, you evolve. You're not weak, you expand. Here's the core truth: life is too short to cling, too precious to waste in a fight with reality. The Stoics, the Buddhists, the sages, they whisper the same lesson. Freedom isn't found in gripping harder. Freedom is found in letting go. Let go of the past. Let go of illusions. Let go of the person you thought you had to be. Because when you let go, you don't fall, you rise. Take a deep breath. Say it with me. I let go. I rise. If this message moved, you share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so we can walk this path together. Your freedom, your growth, your transformation. They begin the moment you open your hand. Letting go is how we rise. Principle 1. Let go of the illusion of control. Let me ask you something. How much do you really control in your life? Think about it. You can't control the weather. You can't control traffic on the freeway. You can't control your boss's mood, your partner's choices, or whether the person you love will love you back. And yet every day we spend so much energy trying to do exactly that. But what if the real key to peace, power, and freedom wasn't holding tighter, but learning how to let go? Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "We control nothing except our own thoughts, our actions, and our responses." That's it. Just those three. The problem is, most of us live like we control everything else. We try to manage people's opinions. We try to guarantee outcomes. We treat life like a machine, push the right button, get the right result. And when life doesn't cooperate, we blame ourselves. We feel like failures. Have you ever prepared for something, a job interview, a date, a project, And even though you gave it everything you had, the result wasn't what you hoped. In that moment, most of us collapse into self-doubt. I'm not good enough. I did something wrong. But what if the problem wasn't you? What if you were just trying to control something that was never yours to control? That's the trap, the illusion of control. And when you hold too tightly, what happens? First, you live in constant tension, like trying to hold back the entire ocean with your bare hands. You fight forces bigger than you, and the struggle drains you dry. Second, you distort reality. Every surprise feels like proof you failed. Every disappointment becomes a story about your worth. And third, you become powerless. Because the more you grip the uncontrollable, the more you lose your true power, the power to master your own inner state. So what's the way out? Shift your focus from outcomes to inputs. You can't control whether a company hires you, but you can control how well you prepare for that interview. You can't control whether someone loves you back, but you can control how honestly and wholeheartedly you show up. You can't control whether your business explodes, but you can control the quality of the work you put in each day. See the difference. Outcomes live outside you. Inputs live inside you. And inside, that's where your true strength lies. Think of the greatest athletes. Do they obsess over winning? No. They obsess over training technique mindset. They sharpen their skills. They strengthen their bodies. They prepare their minds. Because they know if they master the inputs, the outcomes will follow. And when they lose, they don't waste energy blaming referees or cursing luck. They watch the tape, they learn, they adjust, and they come back stronger. What if you lived your life that way? Bring it closer to home. In relationships, you can't control how others treat you, but you can control how you treat them. You can control the boundaries you set, the behavior you accept, the way you respond when hurt. In your career, you can't control the economy, office politics, or the market, but you can control what skills you learn, which projects you pursue, how you choose to show up even in tough environments. In your health, you can't control your genetics or random accidents, but you can control your habits, what you eat, how you move, how you rest. And when you truly grasp this, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding intentionally. You reclaim your power. Now, don't get me wrong. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a discipline, a daily practice. Here's one simple way to train it. Next time you feel stress rising, pause and ask, what in this moment is actually within my influence? What action can I take right now that aligns with my values? That question brings you back to center. It cuts through the fog of anxiety. It reminds you, you don't have to carry the universe on your shoulders. You only have to take care of your corner of it. I think of a client of mine, a brilliant entrepreneur paralyzed by fear that investors would say no. She obsessed over their yes or no. She lost sleep. She rehearsed endlessly. Finally, I asked her, what matters isn't forcing them to invest. What matters is presenting your vision with clarity and honesty. She exhaled. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. The meeting came. The investors still said no, but she walked out proud at peace because she knew she controlled the only things that were truly hers: her preparation, her presence, her authenticity. And 2 months later, Another investor, impressed by her clarity, said yes. That's the power of letting go of the illusion of control. So, let's close with this. Life will never bend perfectly to your will. People will surprise you, markets will change, plans will fall apart, but none of that can steal your peace unless you let it. Remember this: you can't control the storm, but you can adjust the sails. You can't control the traffic jam, but you can control your attitude behind the wheel. You can't control whether the world applauds, but you can control whether you show up with integrity. That is freedom. That is strength. That is the foundation of inner peace. So here's your affirmation for today. Say it with me: I control what I can. I release what I cannot. Let that truth echo in your mind every time anxiety rises. Let it guide you when life feels uncertain. Because when you release the illusion of control, you discover the real power that was inside you all along. Principle 2. Release expectations. Accept the present. Have you noticed this? Most of our disappointment in life doesn't come from what actually happens. It comes from the gap between what we expected and what is. You expect a friend to keep their word, but they don't show. You expect traffic to clear, but the cars still sit bumper to bumper. You expect a meeting to run smoothly, but the tech fails. And in that moment, anger rises. Not because of the event itself, but because of the distance between how it should be and how it is. The philosopher Laudas once wrote, "If you correct your mind, the rest of your life will fall into place." Correction in this case means shifting from rigid expectations to flexible acceptance. Let's make a distinction. A preference motivates. I'd love sunshine today, so I can walk outside. If it rains, you feel a little let down, but you're okay. An expectation chains you. It must be sunny today. If not, my day is ruined. When the rain falls, you're angry. Maybe you lose the joy of the entire day. See the difference. Preference fuels action. Expectation hijacks emotion. And here's the truth: we carry hundreds of invisible expectations every single day. We expect traffic to move fast. We expect Wi-Fi to never cut out. We expect our bodies to feel strong every morning. We expect people to be on time, to understand us, to support us. And when life doesn't follow that script, we get tense, frustrated, sometimes even hopeless. Not because the events are unbearable, but because our minds insist it must be this way. Nothing else is acceptable. The Stoics knew this. The Buddhists taught this. Both pointed to the same root of suffering attachment. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations: love the world as it is, not as you wish it to be, not as you demand it to be, but as it is. Buddhist teachers call this the practice of letting go, not cold indifference, but the freedom to enjoy beauty when it arrives and to release it gracefully when it changes. So how do we practice? Start by shifting just one word. Every time you catch yourself saying must or should, try changing it to I want. He must understand me. I want him to understand me, and I'm willing to explain. This meeting should not drag on. I want it to be quick, but I can be patient. I must be healthy. I want a healthy body, and I'll care for it daily. See what happens. Your language softens. Your grip loosens. You prepare for change instead of fighting it. And nowhere is this more powerful than in love. Because expectations left unchecked can choke the life out of a relationship. You want your partner to love you in your language, to say the words you crave, to show up exactly the way you imagine. But love has many dialects. They may not say, "I love you 10 times a day," but they might brew your coffee every single morning. When you release the script in your head, you begin to notice the love already in action. That's not lowering your standards. That's expanding your heart. Now, some people ask, if I release expectations, won't I lose my drive? The answer is no. In fact, you'll find more resilience. When you cling to rigid expectations, every unmet outcome feels like failure. You lose energy. You lose hope. But when you hold high standards for your effort while letting go of the outcome, you become unbreakable. Take your career. You may aim for a promotion, but you can't control company politics or the timing of decisions. What you can control is the skill you build, the attitude you bring, the value you create every day. And in the long run, that's what carries you forward. Picture this. You're rowing a boat down a river. Of course, you prefer a tailwind. But if the wind shifts against you, you can still adjust the sails. If you demand, "I can only move if the wind is behind me," you'll be stuck forever. But if you say, "The wind has changed, I will change with it," you still move forward. Life is that river. Expectation is wanting the water to always flow your way. Wisdom is learning to row with whatever the river brings. So here's today's truth. Suffering doesn't come from what happens. It comes from the gap between expectation and reality. You can keep high standards. You can chase bold dreams. But never forget, happiness isn't found in forcing life to match your script. It's found in dancing with the surprises it gives you. Time is short, too precious to waste on rage at traffic, sorrow at lateness, or despair at life's unfairness. Choose to release expectations. Choose to open your heart to what is. And let's seal it together with this affirmation: I release expectations. I accept the present, and I find peace in this very moment. Principle 3. See impermanence as your teacher. Let me ask you a hard question. What in your life do you believe will last forever? Your youth, your career, the person you love. We like to pretend those things are permanent, but deep down, we know the truth. Everything changes. Everything will pass. And here's the paradox. The more we fight that truth, the more we suffer. So why not change the lens? Instead of battling impermanence, why not let it become your greatest teacher? The Greek philosopher Epictetus once said, "No one steps into the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man." That single line holds a lifetime of wisdom. Life is a river always flowing, yet most of us live like swimmers fighting the current, trying to freeze the water in place. We cling to youth as if wrinkles are a betrayal. We cling to love as if it must never shift or evolve. We cling to jobs, titles, health as if they're guaranteed. But nothing stands still. And when we demand permanence in a world built on change, suffering is inevitable. In Japanese culture, cherry blossoms are cherished not just for their beauty, but for their brevity. They bloom for only a short season, then fall. Why are people so moved? Because fragility itself makes them precious. Each petal whispers, "Treasure me now. I won't be here for long." What if you saw your life the same way? Imagine holding each laugh with your child each evening, walk at sunset, each quiet moment with your partner as if you were holding a cherry blossom. How much richer would life feel when you stop fighting change? 3 things happen. First, you become present. You stop postponing joy until conditions are perfect and start living here, now. Second, you overflow with gratitude. Nothing feels ordinary anymore because you know it's fragile. Third, you grow resilient. When loss comes, and it will come, you don't see it as an ending, but as a transformation. Endings stop being tragedies. They become transitions. So how do we train for this? Begin with the small things. Notice how your emotions shift in a single day. Watch your thoughts appear and disappear like clouds drifting across the sky. See how your body feels different in the morning than it does at night. Observe the light changing from sunrise to sunset. Each tiny movement is impermanence revealing itself. By noticing, you're teaching your mind to flow with change instead of resist it. Most of us treat endings as enemies. The end of a job, the end of a season, the end of a relationship. But every ending contains a beginning. When youth fades, wisdom arrives. When a career chapter closes, space opens for a new adventure. When a loved one passes, the love you shared doesn't vanish, it deepens into memory and meaning. Impermanence doesn't cheapen life. It makes life profound. Think of it this way. If you could live forever, would you truly treasure the sunrise, the laughter, the taste of a ripe peach? It's because they don't last that they become sacred. I once spoke with a man who lost his job after 20 years at the same company. He felt shattered. His identity was tied to that role. But a year later, he looked back and said, "Losing that job was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to reinvent myself, to awaken passions I had buried. I never would have chosen that ending, but it gave me the beginning I truly needed." That's when impermanence becomes the teacher. Change forces us to grow. So let me leave you with this truth. Impermanence is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It reminds you that life is fragile, precious, and only alive in the present moment. Don't delay happiness until conditions are perfect. Don't grip what cannot stay. Hold lightly. Love fully, even knowing love will change. Work with devotion, even knowing careers will shift. Enjoy success, even knowing it will pass. Endure hardship, because it too will end. Time is finite, and that is what makes it beautiful. So here's today's affirmation. Say it with me: I welcome change. I embrace impermanence. Every ending is a new beginning. Remember this the next time loss knocks at your door. Remember when life shifts without warning, because the river will always flow, and your peace will never come from damming the water, but from learning how to ride the current. Principle 4. Detach from emotion without going cold. Have you ever said something in anger and wished you could take it back? Ever sunk so deep in sadness that the whole day felt heavy? Or when someone criticized, you felt like they stabbed straight into who you are? Here's the truth. Emotions are powerful. They color every decision, every relationship, every moment. But what if I told you you are not your emotions? You are the one who notices them. And with that single shift, everything changes. The Buddha taught pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. We can't avoid emotions, but we can choose whether emotions rule us. Most of us are servants of our feelings, happy only when life goes our way, confident only when praised, resentful the second we're judged. Here's the difference. Detachment is not numbness. It doesn't mean freezing your heart. It doesn't mean pretending you don't care. Real detachment means you feel deeply without being yanked around like a puppet. Treat emotions like weather. You can't control rain, wind, or sun, but you can choose your response. You take an umbrella. You put on sunscreen. You don't yell at the sky because it's cloudy. So why do we yell at the storms inside us? Why believe sadness shouldn't come or anger must never appear? Feelings are passing weather. The question isn't, how do I stop the storm? It's how do I move through it wisely? There is a watcher within you. When anger rises, notice anger. When fear appears, notice fear. When love blooms, notice love. That watcher, steady, calm, unshaken, is where your true power lives. The Stoics trained this daily. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you return to the observer, you stop reacting. You start responding." How do you practice simple, but not easy? Step 1. Pause. When emotion surges, don't act yet. Step 2. Breathe. One deep breath tells your nervous system you're safe. Step 3. Name it. Whisper to yourself. This is anger. This is fear. This is sadness. Then ask, what is the wisest response here? Not the fastest, not the loudest, the wisest. That tiny pause can save a relationship, save a career, save your peace. Detachment transforms the way you love. It lets you love fully without controlling. Set boundaries without resentment. Receive feedback without letting it shatter your worth. Think about it. When your partner disappoints you, do you explode, or can you breathe, state your needs, and keep compassion? When your child pushes your buttons, do you yell, or can you lead firmly without letting anger devour you? That's love with freedom, not love with chains. A client once told me, when my boss criticizes me, I spiral for days. It proves I'm worthless. I asked, what if criticism is just weather? What if his words are like rain? Sometimes helpful, sometimes just noise, never proof of your value. She began to pause, breathe, and name her feelings. Later she said, it still stings, but I don't collapse. I ask, what can I learn? And I let the rest pass. That is freedom, because unmanaged emotions will hijack your life. They turn small arguments into breakups, obstacles into months of depression, fear into paralysis. But when you master detachment, emotions stop being dictators. They become messengers. Anger says, something feels unfair. Fear says, check for safety. Love says, this matters. You listen, you learn, but you don't hand them the steering wheel. So here's the core: detachment is not turning emotions off. It's how you become fully present. Feel everything without letting anyone feeling rule. Imagine that freedom. To be passionate without falling apart. To care deeply without controlling. To love without losing yourself. That's emotional freedom. That's maturity. That's peace. Our time is short. Too short to be tossed around by every inner storm. Claim your power as the observer. Feel deeply. Respond wisely. Say today's affirmation with me: I feel deeply. I respond wisely. Emotions are messages, not my masters. Carry this into your love life, your work, your health, and watch your life change. Principle 5. Redefine failure and rejection. Do you remember the last time you were rejected? Maybe it was a job interview you prepared for weeks, yet the call never came. Maybe it was a relationship where you gave your whole heart only to hear, it's over. Or maybe it was a business dream you believed in only to watch it collapse. That feeling hurts, It weighs heavy. It whispers, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'll never make it. But pause for a moment. What if failure isn't proof you're worthless? What if it's just feedback? What if rejection isn't a slammed door? What if it's a redirection toward the right path? Thomas Edison once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's not empty comfort. That's a mindset. The Stoics had a maxim: the obstacle is the way. What blocks you doesn't stop your growth. It creates your growth. Just like muscles, they only strengthen under resistance. No resistance, no strength. Think back to a rejection. Maybe at the time you thought you'd lost everything. But years later, you realized if you'd gotten that job, you'd be stuck in a toxic workplace. That no was protection. Or think of heartbreak. A breakup once tore your chest open, but it forced you to grow, discover yourself, and eventually find a healthier love. Or in business, a failed project became your harshest classroom. The lessons from that failure built the foundation for your next success. Here's the key. You are not your failure. Actions can go wrong. Plans can fall apart. But you are not defined by that mistake. Separate the two, event and identity. Failure is an event. You are the learner. This simple truth frees you from a heavy chain, the belief that every failure leaves a permanent scar on your worth. So how do we live with this mindset? Take smart risks. Don't avoid challenges just to dodge pain. Pick the ones that make you grow. Do a post-mortem after every fall. Ask, what did I learn? How will I adapt next time? Change your self-talk. Don't say I failed. Say I learned. Don't say they rejected me. Say that wasn't my place yet. Remember the formula: persistence plus learning, raw talent without resilience. Both Stoicism and Buddhism agree on this. Suffering comes from attachment. When you cling to results, every failed plan feels like the end of the world. But when you see failure as part of the path, your heart gets lighter. Failure itself doesn't destroy you. Resistance to failure does. I remember the first time I submitted a book manuscript. The publisher said, "Not a fit." I was crushed. I thought I wasn't meant to write. But I revised. I rewrote. I kept going. And the next time the manuscript was accepted. Here's the irony: without that first rejection, I'd never have written the better version. That no was what lifted me higher. So remember, this failure isn't the end. It's a step on the path. Rejection isn't a period. It's a comma leading you into the next chapter. Every time you fall, you face two choices. Label yourself not enough, or say, I'm still learning. Life's too short to live in fear of failure, too precious to waste on avoiding risk. Turn failure into your gym. Turn rejection into your detour. Let obstacles become your way. Say this with me: I am not my failures. I learn from every fall. I grow stronger with every rejection. Carry that into your career, into your relationships, into every dream you chase, and watch how life opens up before you. Principle 6. Stop chasing approval. Start approving yourself. Be honest. How many times have you worn an outfit? Not because you loved it, but because you were afraid someone might judge. How many times have you chosen a career path? Not because it made your heart sing, but because it looked respectable to others. How many times have you swallowed your real opinion just to keep the peace? We call this living. But really, it's a prison. A prison built from glances, compliments, and the fear of being judged. The question is, will you dare to walk out? From childhood, we're taught a dangerous lesson. When we behave, we get praise. When we please others, we get love. And so we grow into adults with an addiction to approval. We post a photo and wait nervously for likes. We step into a meeting and obsess over what people think. We make decisions based on what will they say, instead of, is this true for me? It's exhausting, isn't it? Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." Think about that. You spend your whole life worrying about what others think of you. But the truth is, most people are too busy worrying about what others think of them. That audience you believe you're performing for, mostly an illusion. They're not sitting there scoring your every move. They're wrestling with the same fear of judgment you are. So what's the solution? Become the one who validates your own life. Define success in your own terms, not by job title, not by bank account, but by asking, does this align with my values? Does this feel true to me? Make choices by your inner compass, not society's compass. Treat feedback as information, not as a verdict. This doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean shutting people out. It means standing on your own feet, steady enough to choose when and how you listen. Yes, people will be disappointed. You'll say no to an invitation and they'll frown. You'll speak your truth and they'll push back. You'll take a different path and they'll call you selfish. But ask yourself, which price is higher, losing someone's temporary approval or losing yourself for a lifetime? When you stop asking permission to live, you finally start living. You gain a quiet confidence, not the kind that needs applause, but the kind that comes from knowing you're living true. You build real connections. When you stop performing, the people who stay are the ones who love your authentic self. You start taking risks, without the chains of what will they think you can try, fail, learn, and grow. Picture this. You're on stage, a spotlight on you. The seats look full. Your heart pounds. You hear the whisper, "Am I good enough? Do they like me?" Then suddenly, the lights come on. The seats are empty. The audience you feared was mostly in your imagination. There was never a jury scoring you. It was always you holding the mic, telling your story. One of my students once told me I became a lawyer only because my parents wanted it. I was good, but I was miserable. I was living for approval, not for life. She was brave enough to pivot. She moved into creative work she loved. At first, her parents were disappointed, but when they saw her truly happy, they accepted it. And for the first time in years, she said, "I feel free." Here's the core message. Your life doesn't need votes. It only needs your approval. Time is short. You don't want to reach the end and realize you've lived as a character performing for an imaginary audience. So be bold, be real, be your own source of validation. Say this with me: I don't need approval to have worth. I approve of myself. I live true to who I am. Bring that mantra into your work, into your relationships, into your daily habits, and you'll see there is no freedom greater than letting go of approval, and finally, living the life that belongs to you. Principle 7. Release your old self. Become who you truly are. Let me ask you something. Are you still carrying old labels other people once slapped on you? He's shy. She'll never succeed. He's just a people pleaser, no backbone. How many of those labels have you believed? How many times have you whispered to yourself That's just who I am, as if fate was carved in stone. But here's the truth. You're not stone. You're a river, always flowing, always changing. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. The privilege isn't clinging to who you were. It's having the courage to evolve into who you are becoming. We're not permanent replicas of our past. We're living beings built to regenerate. But too often, we lock ourselves inside the box of our old self. Do you still call yourself the awkward kid from high school? Do you still wear the label failure after one deal went south? Do you still live as the victim of something that happened years ago? Maybe those labels were true once, but are they still true now? When you cling to them, it's like dragging around a suitcase full of clothes that no longer fit. The question is, which labels are outdated? And are you ready to set them down? Here's the secret. Few people say out loud, you don't have to feel like a new person before you become one. You become one through action. You don't have to believe you're confident. Start acting like someone who is. Lift your head. Speak in the meeting. Over time, you'll realize, oh, I am that kind of person. You don't have to believe you're disciplined. Set the alarm. Move your body for 20 minutes every morning. Do it for a week, then a month. And suddenly, you'll say, I am disciplined. You don't have to wait until you feel loving. Say, I love you. Hold your partner's hand. Call your parents. Action grows emotion. Identity doesn't drive action. Action shapes identity. So what holds most people back? The obsession with being consistent with their past. I once heard someone say, I can't change. This is just who I am. But here's the paradox. Life itself is always changing. When you cling to false consistency, you actually betray your own growth. Give yourself permission to change your mind. Permission to change your preferences. Permission to drop old fears and pick up new strengths. You're not betraying yourself when you change. You're honoring your evolution. So how do you start? 3 simple steps. Observe the story you're telling. Every time you say, I'm just not good at that pause. Ask, is that truth or just an old belief experiment with new behaviors? Always hated public speaking. Sign up for one small talk. Think you're not creative. Try journaling for 5 minutes each morning. Keep the lessons, drop the limits. From past failures, keep the wisdom. From old pain, keep the strength. But let go of the labels. I'm a failure. I'm a victim. Think of the caterpillar. To become a butterfly, it must completely dissolve inside the cocoon. It doesn't cling to its old form. It transforms. You too must release the image of your old self. Not to deny the past, but to use it as fertilizer for your rebirth. A friend of mine once lived under the label people pleaser. She never said no, never spoke her truth. One day she realized I wasn't born to be a shadow. She started small, saying no to invitations she didn't want, saying yes to things that lit her heart. 6 months later, people described her as strong and authentic. What changed, not her essence, but the story she chose and the actions she took. Here's the core message. You are not trapped by your past. You are a living draft, always open to revision. Time is limited. Don't waste years living as the old version of yourself just because it feels familiar. Start today. Notice the story you're telling. Rewrite it. Take a new action. And allow yourself to evolve. Say this with me. I am not limited by my old self. I am becoming the strongest, truest, most free version of me. This isn't just a statement, it's a promise to yourself. So release, rebirth, become. Principle 8. Practice. Grateful letting go. Have you ever felt like you were fighting against the current of life? Holding on to a relationship that was already cracked? Trying to control an outcome far beyond your reach? Tensing every muscle as if strength meant gripping tighter? But what if real strength comes from letting go, and not just letting go with gratitude? Many people confuse letting go with giving up. Giving up is defeat. Letting go is empowerment. The Sufi poet Rumi once wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way." How do you know the side you are used to is better than the one to come? Don't resist. Don't panic. Don't cling to everything must go my way. Grateful letting go means I still act wisely. I still give my best. But I release my grip on the outcome. I stop demanding life to happen on my schedule. Picture yourself swimming in a rushing river. The harder you thrash, the faster you drown. But when you release, your body rises and you can steer with clarity. Acceptance doesn't mean you like the hardship. It means this is reality. I'll do my best from here. When you accept, you stop wasting energy arguing with what cannot be changed. You free your strength to take the next step. And here's what most people miss: gratitude. It's easy to be grateful when life is smooth. But transformation happens when you're grateful in the storm. A health diagnosis teaches you to treasure every single day. A financial loss trains you in discipline and patience. A heartbreak forces you to turn inward to nurture yourself. The question isn't, why me? It's, what is this here to teach me? Pain without learning is just pain. Pain with wisdom. That's a stepping stone. So how do we practice this in real life health? Instead of obsessing, I must heal. Right now, say, I thank my body for sending signals. I will care for it one day at a time. Finances. Instead of blaming yourself, I failed. Ask, what can I learn about money and about myself? Relationships. Instead of clinging, they must stay. Be grateful you had them and trust. The empty space is making room for something new. Career. Instead of panicking at rejection, be grateful for the training it gave you, and trust another door is opening. The Stoics called this amor fati, the love of fate. Not loving every event, but loving the truth that every event can become material for growth. You don't need all the answers to move forward. The seed doesn't know why it must sit in the dark before sprouting. The caterpillar doesn't know why it must dissolve before flying. And you don't need to know why either. You just need to trust that life is wise, that difficulties are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones. I once coached a man who lost his job after 20 years. He thought it was the end. But instead of closing his heart, he chose to try grateful letting go. He wrote down 3 things he was thankful for in his loss: time with his family, the chance to learn a new skill, the reminder that his worth was bigger than his job title. 1 year later, he started a new career, and he told me, if I hadn't lost my job, I never would have found myself. Here's the core truth. Grateful letting go doesn't make you weaker. It makes you stronger. When you let go, you stop being a prisoner of outcomes. When you give thanks, you turn every experience, even painful ones, into a teacher. Time is short. Don't waste it fighting reality. Use it to learn, to grow, to live fully. Say this with me: I release with gratitude. I don't need all the answers to move forward. I trust every hardship can become a stepping stone. This isn't just a mantra, it's a way of living. So release, give thanks, and step into your true strength. Principle 9. Cultivate presence. Have you ever sat in a room, but your mind was miles away? You're at dinner, but you're already thinking about tomorrow's emails. You're talking with someone you love, but your heart is tangled in an old memory. And then you realize you're not really anywhere. Here's the paradox. Your real power doesn't live in the past that's gone. It doesn't live in the future that hasn't arrived. It only lives here, right now. The Stoics, the Buddhist monks, they all agreed the present moment is all we ever truly have. The past is only memory. The future is only imagination. Only the present is alive. When you're caught in the past, you're chained to regret. When you chase the future, you're trapped in anxiety. But when you stand in the present, you find freedom. Picture a surfer. He can't control the ocean. He can't stop the wind. He can't choose the waves. But he can learn to stand steady on his board. He can adjust his body, his focus, his breath right in the middle of the wave that's coming. Life is the same. You can't control the ocean of events, but you can control your response in this very moment. A clearer mind. When you pause to be present, the mental noise settles. You see things more clearly. Less anxiety. How many times have you suffered from something that hasn't even happened yet? Presence reminds you that hasn't come. Right now, I am safe. Deeper joy. When you're truly present, you taste your food fully, hear your friends' laughter, feel the sunlight on your skin. That's real happiness. You don't need hours of meditation, just small moments every day. Your breath. Pause for 1 or 2 minutes. Notice the inhale. Notice the exhale. Whisper to yourself, I am here. When eating, don't eat while scrolling your phone or watching TV. Just notice the flavor, the texture, the smell. In conversations, listen without rehearsing your reply. Just be there. Let the other person feel truly seen and heard. I used to live in tomorrow. I told myself, when I reach this goal, then I'll be happy. When things settle down, then I'll feel peace. But every time tomorrow came, I pushed happiness to the next tomorrow. I realized if I don't learn to be happy now, no tomorrow will ever be enough. Book it when you're stressed about the project's outcome. Return to the step in front of you, today's task. Love. When you fear losing someone, stay present with them now. Cherish instead of controlling. Health. When you panic about aging, focus on today's care, this meal, this sleep, this workout. A friend once told me he read bedtime stories to his son, but his mind was still on work emails. One night his child looked into his eyes and asked, "Dad, are you really here with me?" That question woke him up. From then on, he turned off his phone and gave his full presence to every page, every smile. And he realized happiness wasn't in tomorrow's success. It was in his son's eyes, right here, right now. Your power isn't in past regrets. It isn't in future fears. It's in presence today. Time is short. Don't live as a stranger to your own life. Start small, one breath, one meal, one conversation. Let presence become a habit. Let it become your way of life. Say this with me, I am here. I am present. I am savoring this moment fully. If you live that truth, you'll see you don't need to wait for tomorrow. You are already free today. Principle 10. Contribution over comparison. Have you ever scrolled through social media, seen someone else's success, and heard that whisper inside, "I'll never measure up"? Have you ever sat at work, looked at a colleague, and thought, "Why are they being recognized and not me?" Comparison is like poison. It eats away at your confidence. It traps you in a race with no finish line. But there is another path, the path of contribution. And when you walk it, you realize you don't need to be better than anyone to feel that you are enough. Comparison is like standing in front of a warped mirror. No matter what you see, you'll always find flaws. Someone will always be richer, prettier, smarter, and you'll always feel less. The Stoics warned us, true happiness will never come from measuring yourself against someone else's ruler. It comes from living your values and serving something greater than yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." Real fulfillment comes when you ask, "What can I give?" When you stop asking, "Am I better than them?" and start asking, "What did I contribute today?" you shift from scarcity to abundance, from rivalry to connection. At work, instead of resenting a coworker's promotion, ask, "What can I contribute?" so the whole team thrives. Ironically, that very contribution may open doors for you. In love, instead of comparing your relationship to another couple's, ask, "How can I show up so the person I love feels safe and cherished?" In everyday life, instead of measuring yourself against neighbors, ask, "What small act can I do today to help someone else?" When you focus on giving, you step out of the toxic loop of rivalry. You nurture real connection. You feel the deep truth that your presence matters. And the miracle, when you give, you also receive. Not always money, not always praise, but peace. Self-respect, confidence that lasts. Picture a river. It never asks, "Do I have more water than the river beside me?" It just flows. It nourishes the land, the trees, the people. And because it flows, it becomes endless. You are the same. When you give, you don't lose. You open the current of meaning. Start small. Each day, choose one act of contribution, a kind word, a helping hand, a moment of encouragement. Measure your success not by, "Was I better than someone else?" but by, "What did I give today?" Before bed, write down one thing you contributed. You'll sleep more peacefully because you'll know that day did not pass in vain. One of my students was obsessed with comparing herself to coworkers. Every time someone else was praised, she shrank inside. We tried a shift, no more racing, just contributing. She started helping teammates, sharing ideas, supporting projects. And the result, she felt more confident. And the recognition she once chased began to arrive naturally. Comparison never lifted her up. Contribution did. Comparison makes you feel less. Contribution makes you feel enough, powerful even. Time is short. Don't waste it staring sideways. Use it to make a difference right in front of you. Say this with me: I don't need comparison. I choose contribution. I am enough, and I am strong in giving. Carry that into your work, into your relationships, into the small habits of everyday life. And you'll see happiness doesn't come from being more than someone else. It comes from what you've given to this world. Principle 11. Live aligned with a greater purpose. Have you ever spent the whole day busy only to lay your head down at night and feel empty? You run, you work, you push hard, but inside you whisper, "What's it all for?" We can spend a lifetime chasing small goals only to realize we've missed the bigger one. The real question is not, how much am I doing? The real question is, what am I living for? The Stoics warned us many live as if they'll never die. They chase the trivial, fading fame, shallow comparisons, fleeting comforts, while ignoring the core, a meaningful life. Living with purpose means daring to let go of the small stuff, because when you cling to the small, you lose the great. Picture yourself as a captain at sea. The ocean is vast. The winds shift constantly. You can't stop the wind. You can't predict every wave, but you can hold a compass, and as long as you know your north, you will not drift. Purpose is that compass. It doesn't remove the storm. It keeps you from losing your way. The benefits of living with purpose. Enduring motivation. When storms hit, inspiration alone won't carry you. But if you live for something bigger, you can stand through the storm. Meaning in daily choices. With purpose, even the smallest acts, a conversation, a kindness, a workout, become part of a larger journey. Inner peace. You stop racing against everyone else. You simply stay loyal to your direction. Practicing purpose. Start with 3 steps. Write down your 3 core values. Not the values others want for you, but the ones you truly want to live. Honesty, freedom, love. Ask with each decision, does this bring me closer to or further from my values? If further, let it go. If closer, move forward. See purpose as a lighthouse. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need enough light to take the next step. I remember a season in my life work was packed achievements stacked high, yet I felt hollow. So I asked, what really matters to me? The answer wasn't in the paycheck. It was in whether I was creating real value for others. When I shifted from doing more to living true, everything changed. Career. Instead of only asking, how much does this job pay? Ask, does this job bring me closer to my values? Relationships. Instead of asking, does this person make me happy? Ask, are we building something bigger together? Health. Instead of training only for appearance, remember a strong body is the tool that carries your mission forward. A friend of mine once ran a marathon. He said when exhaustion hit, he wanted to quit. But then he remembered, I'm not running for a medal. I'm running to raise money for children with heart disease. At that moment, his legs found strength again, because he wasn't running for himself anymore. He was running for a greater purpose, and that purpose carried him beyond his limits. Let go of the small, hold to the great. When you live aligned with a greater purpose, every trial becomes a stepping stone. Your time is finite. Don't waste it lost in the trivial. Find your compass. Let your lighthouse guide you. Say this with me, I live aligned with a greater purpose. I let go of the small and I choose what matters. Bring that into your work, into your relationships, into every daily choice. Because in the end, it won't matter how much you did. What matters is what you lived for. Principle 12. Trust the process. Even when you don't see results. Have you ever planted a seed and then a few days later dug it up just to check if it was growing? We often live the same way. We plant effort, we plant time, we plant dreams. But when we don't see results right away, we panic. We want to quit. Yet every seed needs the dark before it breaks open. Every caterpillar needs the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. And sometimes, the long, cold winter is what prepares the spring to bloom. Nature teaches us that every process has its own rhythm. A seed rests underground before it cracks open. A butterfly melts down in the cocoon before it can fly. The seasons turn, spring brings birth, summer growth, autumn, harvest, winter rest. You cannot force spring to arrive early, but you can trust that winter has its purpose. Viktor Frankl, who survived the concentration camps, once said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." That's the key. Some processes aren't meant to change the world outside of you. They're meant to change you. Not every trial is something to remove. Some are meant to refine. The Stoics knew this. Pain is not proof of failure. Pain is the raw material of growth. Trusting the process does not mean sitting still. It means acting with consistency without clinging to instant results. You work out daily, even if your body doesn't change overnight. You write every morning, even if no one reads it yet. You care for a relationship, even if the response isn't perfect. Discipline plus patience. The foundation of every breakthrough. And here's the irony. The moment you most want to quit is often the moment you're closest to the breakthrough. Like the miner who digs through hundreds of feet of rock and stops just a few steps before striking gold. Just because you can't see the change doesn't mean it isn't happening. Trusting the process also means learning to listen. Sometimes the wisdom is to slow down instead of push harder. Sometimes it's to turn left when the old road has ended. Sometimes it's to step back, see the bigger picture, and then move forward with clarity. The process is rarely a straight line. It curves, it twists, and every turn carries a lesson. We often think happiness is waiting at the finish line, but the truth is, the road itself is the treasure. Every stride is part of the marathon, not just the medal. Every day of learning is part of knowledge, not just the diploma. Every act of love is part of love itself, not just happily ever after. When you live fully inside the process, you realize you are already touching the reward. A friend of mine once launched a business. For 18 months, it made no profit. He was ready to quit. But instead of giving up, he kept learning, adjusting, experimenting. The breakthrough didn't come from one giant idea. It came from hundreds of small, consistent actions. By the third year, the company took off. He told me if I had quit in month 18, I would have never known success was just 1 year away. Trust the process, even when you don't see results. Because results are not always the measure. The growth, the discipline, the patience you build along the way, those are the real rewards. Your time is limited. Don't waste it digging seeds up to check. Water them, nurture them, trust them. Say this with me: I am patient. I act with consistency. I trust the process even when I can't see the results. When you live with that belief, life stops being a race to the finish. It becomes a dance where every step holds its own value. Principle 13. Let go to rise. Have you ever wondered what's really holding you back from flying higher? It's not that your wings are too small. It's not that the sky is too narrow. It's the sandbags you keep holding on to. A hot air balloon can only lift off when it dares to release the weight dragging it down. Your life works the same way. We fear letting go because we think, if I let it go, I'll lose. But the truth is the opposite. Every time you let go, you upgrade. You don't lose love when you let go of control. You open the door to a freer, deeper kind of love. You don't lose safety when you let go of the fear of failure. You gain the strength to take on bigger challenges. You don't lose yourself when you let go of old definitions. You step into a larger, more expansive version of who you are. Letting go isn't abandoning your values. It's reallocating your energy from anxiety to creativity, from resentment to compassion, from clinging to freedom. The Stoics said, resistance creates suffering. Buddhism teaches that clinging keeps us stuck. When you release the energy once trapped, comes alive, and you become not just lighter, but stronger. Picture yourself in a hot air balloon. You want to rise higher, see farther, but you're hovering in place. You look around and notice the sandbags tied down, resentment, fear, expectations, the past. Only when you cut them loose can the balloon soar, lifting you to a new perspective. In relationships, when you let go of the need to control, love becomes lighter. It's no longer about possession, it's about companionship, and only then can you love more deeply. In your career, when you let go of the fear of failure, you step into greater challenges. You stop playing it safe. You start playing for growth inside yourself. When you let go of the old identity, I'm shy, I'm not good at this, you unlock the doorway to a new self. Many believe letting go just brings peace, but the truth is bigger. Letting go is a launch pad for transformation. You don't just feel lighter, you rise into new awareness, new skills, new ways of living. You don't just drop the burden, you discover the wings to fly. I once coached a successful woman who lived in constant anxiety. She clung to the image of being perfect. She feared mistakes. She feared judgment. One day, she decided to let go. In a meeting, she dared to say, "I don't know." And something surprising happened. Instead of losing respect, her colleagues admired her honesty. She told me later, "When I let go of the mask of perfection, I didn't shrink, I expanded." Letting go is not weakness. Letting go means you are ready to rise. Time is short. You cannot keep clinging to sandbags and expect to fly. You must choose. You must dare to release what no longer serves you. Say this with me, I don't let go because I'm weak. I let go because I'm ready to rise. When you live with that declaration, you'll see life isn't taking anything away from you. It's simply waiting for you to grow lighter, so it can hand you the sky. Have you ever read a powerful book or listened to a life-changing talk and whispered to yourself, "This is amazing. Tomorrow I'll start changing," but then tomorrow comes and nothing changes? Awareness is not transformation. Knowing is not enough. Only action changes your life. We've just walked through 13 principles. Each principle is like a brick, but a house is never built if the bricks just sit on the ground. You have to place them one by one every single day. Don't try to practice them all at once. Choose the principle that speaks to you most. Live with it until it becomes second nature. Then add the next one. That's how you build a new life, not in one giant leap, but in steady, deliberate steps. The Stoics left us with a simple formula, a formula that holds the key to inner freedom. Control what you can, accept what you cannot, and seek the wisdom to know the difference. Imagine if you live this truth every single day. No more wasting energy fighting storms you can't control. Instead, you'd use that energy to steer the ship of your own life. And when you integrate these principles, what happens? You create space for what truly matters. Energy. Once trapped in resentment, fear, comparison now flows into creativity, compassion, and action. You learn how to move gracefully with reality, not resisting life, but partnering with it like a dancer, moving with the music. And most importantly, you discover freedom in the present, not in some distant future, but here, now, in this very breath. Think about breathing. Every inhale is an act of receiving. Every exhale an act of letting go. Without the exhale, your lungs would suffocate. Without letting go, your mind grows heavy. Life works the same way. Letting go isn't an ending. It's the condition for growth, for renewal, for elevation. Before you go, I want you to do one thing with me. Take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment. Now exhale slowly. And as you breathe out, whisper to yourself, I let go. I rise higher. Every time you do this, you're rewiring your mind. You're building a habit of returning to peace, a habit of stepping into your true strength. Here's the core message. Knowing is not enough. Only when you practice each principle do you turn knowledge into freedom. Your time is limited. Don't wait for the perfect day. Start today with one small action, one small change, one small release. Say it with me now. Letting go. Rising higher. If these principles spoke to you, leave a comment. Which one woke something inside you? Share this video with someone who needs it. And don't forget to subscribe so we can continue this journey together. You don't have to wait. You can begin right now. Breathe in, let go, and step into the peace that's been waiting for you all along.